Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all genders. Welcome to another episode of PinFall Podcast. I'm wasting no time tonight because I don't think there's been a bigger week in wrestling than what we have experienced this week. So I'm wasting no time. I'm going to bring him on right now. I finally met this man in person this week, and I got to say, he's just as cool a person as he is on screen. If you will, baby, Mr. William H.D. Morgan.
If you will, baby, your boy William D is back. And Josh, thank you for having me in your home. I do appreciate that. And everything you did for me on the trip, we had a blast. But guys, you have a special guest with us tonight here from the All Sports All Play Network. Give it up for my man, Ray Cruz. Ray, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. I'm the host of the ASAP Wrestling Hour on Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, and 7 p.m. Pacific Time.
And just to let you know, you can catch me over there as well on occasion. So definitely, brother is pulling double duty.
That's what I told Will. I was like, Will, you were on that show all the time. Why haven't we had one of those guys on our show? So, and if there was a night to do it, it's this week. Because guys, like, holy crap, what a time to be a wrestling fan. We're going to waste no time. We're going to dive right into it. And, guys, I'm going to say right now, there's no topic tonight. We're just going to discuss everything that's been going on this week in wrestling because we could probably spend 3 hours on it and not cover it all. So we are going to jump right in to the question of the week.
I'd be scared about the question sometimes. What you got tonight, man?
So this one's actually really easy because there's not much of a question here. It is more of an opinion. Both of you guys lived through the Attitude Era. I came in towards the end of it. My question is to you two guys right here, and that is, does this feel like the Attitude Era to y'all? Like, does this feel like that time?
No.
Like, are you getting those vibes of, like, this is the best time to be a wrestling fan type vibes yet?
No. If I can, let me answer this real quick here. The thing I liked about SmackDown was Edge going back to the Brood and bringing in that blood all over Seth Rollins. You know, that's getting a little bit close to the Attitude, but not quite there yet. And, you know, we talk about the Attitude Era. That Attitude Era was something with Stone Cold, the way he, you know, tagged Vince McMahon. We haven't seen anybody tagging their owners in a while, you know. So, to me, Attitude Era, it's not even close right now to that Attitude Era. It's getting close. It's not. I say we're probably a few years away, but I think it's going to lean back towards that. And
I guess I should rephrase this question. And I don't know if we'll ever come back to the Attitude Era per se. Like we were talking last night on our little kickoff show thing on Twitch. It's the political correct cancel culture is never going to let the Attitude Era come back to what it was. I guess more my question is do you feel like, other than the Attitude Era, there's no better time to be a wrestling fan than right now? Like, I know from someone who was too young, like, I remember the Attitude Era, I remember being popular. I was not a fan at the time. My parents wouldn't let me watch the Attitude Era.
Don't blame
them. Came in just as Ruthless Aggression was starting. So to me, like, I've never felt wrestling like this. Like, I feel like things that happened this week are really starting to usher in a new era in wrestling. William.
It's just the fact to me, I wish we could get back to that era. But like I said, with the way culture is, social media is, we never will. But this is the closest we've been in a long, long time. And not just WWE either. We're looking at what AEW did as well. So let's keep that in mind too, guys.
Yeah. And I look at it this way too. And you talking about a person, I've been watching wrestling since 1980. I watched Dusty Rhodes pick up a razor blade and start cutting himself. And
remember that?
And Ric Flair does the same thing. If you ever watch Ric Flair fall back in the 80s and stuff, he was cutting himself on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day when you had all the blood matches and stuff like that. And then you talking about the Attitude with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock they had, and then the Brood. And when the Edge came in with the Brood and how they put in the 7, and they had the Undertaker, you know, and then you had Stone Cold actually taking off and beating up Vince McMahon with a bedpan, you know, and stuff like that. You don't this culture right now, you won't see that too much because the TV won't allow it because of the blood and stuff. I mean, AEW is about the closest one bringing out the blood with that match with Moxley. So,
but you figure AEW's been able to pull off some form of a hardcore bloody match about every 2 or 3 months. They've pulled off something, whether it's the exploding barbed wire match or their first death match that they had or this last match or the hardcore match with Baker and Thunder Rosa. They've been able to pull that off, and I think that truly, we were talking about this last night too, like it's not so much Attitude Era in general, it's just the fact that you never know. Other than taking WWE out of the equation, you never know, even watching a company like Impact or GCW or MLW. Right now, you don't know who's going to show up. Like, you have no idea. It wouldn't be crazy to say, it's down the line, Punk shows up in an Impact ring with the way they're working with AEW now. Like, and vice versa. I said this last night. I fully believe Will Ospreay and Jay Lethal will be making an appearance on AEW TV within the next couple of months.
You did say that last night.
And I just, to me, in those rights, other than Monday Night Wars, and we're never going to get back to that popularity. We're never going to get to the point where Raw and Nitro were pulling 2 million each. Like, that's never going to happen. As much as it is like the best time to be a wrestling fan, it is where also the time where wrestling fans are dying off. Like,
facts.
You see more and more people pulling away from the product. That's like last night. I've told several people I had no interest in watching last night's pay-per-view. None. Because WWE product just doesn't do it for me anymore. It's just, I find it boring. I find it very boring and repetitive, and not 90% of the stuff that ended up happening that they thought were swerves, I could have guessed last night. Lesnar coming back wasn't a surprise to me. The biggest surprise to me is how they did Bianca Belair dirty.
Trash, man. Trash. That's trash.
But so that's the question of the week. We're gonna just plow right ahead and talk about all the things that happened in wrestling. So, all right, we can't act like it didn't happen any longer. The Cult of Personality has returned. He debuted on AEW Rampage this Friday to one of the before the Becky pop, which let's preface this. Becky had 30,000 fans. Punk had 15,000, and I would say those pops were still right here. Like, Becky's might have been a little bit bigger, but they were pretty equal to have double. And I heard multiple people say SummerSlam crowd was weaker for being double of what the United Center was for Rampage. Did Punk get the reaction y'all thought he would? Was it bigger, better, worse?
I'm gonna let Ray go first. Ray, take it, Ray.
Well, with CM Punk, advertising and teasing him and stuff like that, people thought he wasn't going to show up, and they thought he was just going to back out at the last minute, but he did show up. But the coolest part about the whole thing is, because I'm a big Sting fan, with Sting setting up on the top of the United Center with Darby Allin, and then he's sitting there talking, and the next thing you know, he looks up and sees Sting and Darby Allin, and then he's going to make his debut against Darby Allin, thing is pretty much. But you also got to think about CM Punk, too. Two things about CM Punk. He's not all by himself, and he likes pushing over other people. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually loses his debut because he's trying to.
Honestly, that's one thing I've been arguing with people online is, Punk's going to bury a young star. I don't know. I don't see – Punk has never been the type to bury. Like, he's never been the type. He may take a win here to build a longer storyline with Darby, which wouldn't be a bad thing. But also, did anybody – and I went back and watched the clip because someone brought it to my attention. Did anybody notice that when they panned from Punk to Darby, the Darby chants were just as loud as the Punk chants?
That's a good point.
That to me, if I'm Darby Allin, if I'm AEW, I'm registering that because y'all brought a guy who was a total unknown, and now he is on the same level as Punk, who in wrestling, like you said last night, Will, is God level almost.
Mm-hmm. He certainly has his fans, but my thing is, to me, at the end of the day, yes, can he cut a promo? Of course he can. Is he over with a lot of the fans? Of course he is. But at the end of the day, he's in a Hall of the Very Good, in my opinion. He's not a Hall of Fame type dude. He's a Hall in terms of wrestling skill or ability. He's good in the ring, but he's not great. But because he has that fan presence and can cut a promo, that gets him over a lot more than what his wrestling skills get him over for.
I agree with that. I mean, and we gotta have to see. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Ray. I just wanted to make a point of we gotta have to see, because just like Christian, just like Edge, they've been out of the ring for a long time. Like,
what, 7
we're
years?
Gonna have to see. It's been 7 years for Punk
7
since
years?
he's been in a ring. Other than supposedly he's done a couple of indie things.
Well,
here and there.
He did the UFC. Yeah.
Well, and he did, but you and I both know that doesn't always translate. Like, we look at how many wrestlers have really went on to have a successful UFC career. Not very many. Brock Lesnar, and I would say the next one under him would be Jake Hager, which isn't saying much.
No.
Well, Bobby Lashley did pretty good in Bellator.
He did, and that's where Jake Hager's fighting. Okay, you do have to give. The thing is, Bobby's now been out of it for 4 or 5 years.
Right. But, I mean, you got to think about CM Punk, too. We don't know how he's been training, how he's been keeping up in the ring and stuff like that. There's some words that he has been to wrestling schools around the country training people. So we don't know how effective his rust is going to be. We won't know that until that pay-per-view when he gets in the ring with Darby Allin. But one thing about Darby Allin that makes him a little bit more credible to go with CM Punk is Sting. Because when Darby Allin and Sting decided to go to AEW, that's the first thing everybody was thinking about, him matching up with Darby Allin. I mean, Sting, you can see Sting rubbing off on Darby Allin right now.
And I got to say, I wasn't too sure of it at first. I didn't think that Sting in the manager role had worked, but truly, it's worked well. They've gotten Sting over in AEW and had to put him in very little matches. He had the one pay-per-view match. This was his first match this week on Dynamite, on Dynamite, and then he took another bump on Rampage. Other than that, they've protected him well and still built up him to a new fan base.
Just think about Sting. If you watch Sting over the years, he's gone from a surfer Sting all the way to a Joker Sting. Sting can reinvent himself, and that's the one thing about Sting. He can reinvent himself to being a manager. That's his forte of his demeanor and the way he can teach the young kids and stuff. Because he learned from the best. He learned from Dusty Rhodes. He learned from Sting. He learned from Ric Flair in the NWA days. And he paid his due with the Undertaker, because you remember he teamed up with the Undertaker as Mean Mark Callis back in the indie wrestling days. So
There's few people, Sting, Jericho, really come to mind that can reinvent themselves the way Sting and Jericho have. And I'm sure there's probably a couple others that are escaping me, but those are the two, because both of them, 30-year careers, have went from Surfer Sting to Crow Sting to Joker Sting, kill it. And you look at Sting, Sting has killed it in every promotion he's been in, killed it in WCW, killed it in TNA, made TNA somewhat relevant for a time, just by himself.
Well, you have a guy who can get over in more than just one company over the span of his career. You're dealing with something special. Sting is one of those guys. Booker T is another one of those guys who got over in multiple places. Makes those guys special.
We've got a lot more of stuff to cover. We got to talk about how WWE kind of fired back with SummerSlam last night. I want to talk about some possible other people coming to AEW in the very near future, and the tide. Is the tide stemming one way or the other on all that? We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
All right, guys, we are back right here on PinFall Podcast. We have a special guest with us tonight. Got my man Ray Cruz from All Sports, excuse me, All Sports All Play Radio Network. Man, Ray, man, we had a lot that went down, but the thing I want to talk about how dirty they did Bianca Belair, man. How they do her like that, man. That was just dirty, man.
Well, I look at it this way. They brought Becky Lynch back, but why didn't they bring her back to the Raw to have her get her title that she never lost at Raw? They brought her back for the SmackDown reason. We don't know why. And to me, if you're trying to build up Bianca Belair as the EST of WWE or SmackDown, and you made her look this strong all of the point, then all of a sudden you bring Becky Lynch back, you make her look weak. You're really tearing down what you build up in that product now, because now everybody's going to think she's going to be that weak person because she got killed by Becky Lynch. We all know Becky Lynch was due to come back. We knew she was been out for a year because she had baby, her baby and stuff like that. We understand that. But to me, I thought they were going to bring it back and have her go up. And it'd been better if she would have interfered in that, Charlotte Flair, Ripley, and Nikki Cross's match and have her take that title because she never lost that title. That would make it more believable. But you put her on a show that she held the title but never lost that. She lost that title. So to me, to have her on that really smacked Bianca Belair in the face.
What do you think? What happened with Sasha? We were supposed to see Sasha here, and we didn't. What do you think happened?
My personal beliefs, I think she's been in the doghouse with WWE for a long time. Vince McMahon, she might have rubbed Vince McMahon the wrong way. Her coming back in that contract signing, then you brought out Kamala and Vega as man type deal, beat down and stuff like that. So I think Vince McMahon or something, she did something wrong, or it could be a totally different reason. It could be like maybe she got the COVID virus or something, and they keep it in hush hush for that. We don't know exactly what's going on with that issue behind the scenes, because there's not really been any publications or any outside information about it. But to me, not having her there, you build that match up. You had her attack, you had her sneak attack. Had her being her friend at first, and then come back the next week and having a sneak attack. You worked a lot of things to the angle. You
did
to do. So to me, I think what happened was they got that early vibe of to me, essentially WWE was trying to combat the CM Punk ovation, and the only way they could have done that was bring Becky Lynch back. But then why you bring her back to take a title that why didn't you take her back to Monday Night Raw, have her beat them, get her title back when she never lost, so you can relinquish it. So
do you think WWE can fix this? Do you think they can make Bianca look strong again, possibly get the title back?
To me, you can always make people look strong. You could say that Becky Lynch. You could spin it to a way that they in the storyline they said Becky Lynch overwhelmed. You can tell the way she was looking at Becky Lynch. She just probably could have lost her mindset at the time and then get pinned. Because she really wasn't focused, because it was all at the start of the crowd going wild. I mean, They did play it up to a certain point. If you look at the reaction that Bianca Belair had the whole time Becky Lynch was walking to the ring. So, I mean, you can feel off her emotions and stuff like that. Say she got carried away, because maybe they spin it that, Becky Lynch was like her role model or something.
Right.
You spin it that way. And then, I was starstruck, even though she's a star herself, starstruck because you're wrestling your, your role model that you look
hero.
Yeah.
Kind of like AJ Lee was to Lita. Yeah. Lita was AJ's favorite wrestler. So, or
Mickie James to Trish.
Yep. All right, let me ask you this. Let's head over to the Raw side. Charlotte wins the title yet again. A, are you tired of Charlotte continuously winning? And B, can they fix that? I know. And B, can they fix that situation over there?
Well, the only thing is, in my opinion, I think they gave Charlotte Flair because we already seen the hints of Andrade and secret messages that he wants her over at AEW to form a stable, and they already got Chavo in the stable with Andrade. Then you got Ric Flair might be showing up any time now, even though they said that he's going to show up on NWA, but we really don't know that situation either. So if Flair shows up, I think Charlotte Flair could be done. I mean, what else she can do in WWE? I mean, she 14-time.
Well, if you count the tag titles, she's held 15 titles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, what else? I mean, to me, I think they full blown her gimmick. Really, I mean, she's living off her she's living off her father's legacy.
And
honestly, go ahead. Well, go ahead.
Sorry about that. The one thing that kills me about this guy is you just destroyed Nikki in this. She was such a good story, and for her to win that title, I kind of like that gimmick a little bit, kind of like the underdog getting her due. I was hoping she'll get through this unscathed, but she didn't. Do you think Vince might roll back to her at some point with the title? Or is it done for her?
No, that was it.
But with Nikki Cross, you got to understand two things that's going on. You know, they could be setting up where she joins back with Alexa Bliss because they were great. They were good formal tag team and bring up that WWE tag team titles back to prestige to where it's at right now on the side. I mean, you got a lot of things you can play with Nikki Cross. You know, Nikki Cross lost, she could be down. Next thing you know, Alexa Bliss and you turn her completely around. But we don't know what the situation is, what's going to be coming up with that. But I don't see her going back. She does have a rematch. We probably see her on Monday Night Raw cashing that rematch in and probably losing again. So.
Yeah,
I don't. I personally, I think WWE might be spinning their wheels on the Charlotte thing because I kind of agree with Ray. I think she even feels to an extent that WWE kind of did her dirty. They built her too strong. They built her too legacy, and they gave her too many titles way too fast. There's no reason that 8 years in the business she should have almost as many world championships as her father.
Yep.
And there's just no reason for that. I loved Charlotte in NXT. I think she was great, and I think they had a great idea with her as what they probably had were gonna do with his son at one point and put it all on her. But then you built her too fast, too strong. And one thing that we've seen is the fans just aren't for that anymore. It was what we saw with Roman for years. They just shove him down our throats until we either get over or get sick of it. And I think even Charlotte recognizes that. And now that the fact that Andrade's killing it with AEW and AAA, we've already seen Flair make an appearance with Andrade and AAA. He's coming back, which Ray broke the news because we hadn't said it. He's coming back to NWA. Did anybody else get physical chills when they heard that? Because
I was happy. I was really happy.
One of the greatest men to ever hold the 10 pounds of gold. I would say second probably only to Aldis and a couple others. Because I give Aldis tons of props because he brought the NWA basically back from the dead. They were dying. If it weren't for him and Corgan, the NWA wouldn't exist right now.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing, though. I'm not totally hating on Charlotte because when Charlotte came back, she rededicated herself to her fitness. She rededicated herself to the sport. She lost about 20 pounds. So I got to give that to Charlotte. But outside of that, nah, man.
Well, I look at this. I look at 2 points about Charlotte Flair. They built Charlotte Flair up too quickly. Yep. Guess who's sitting right there that hadn't been built up any like that? That's Natalya. I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for her.
Oh, dude, I agree.
I'm gonna tell you what. If they would have let Charlotte Flair and Natalya run that rivalry they had in NXT, their matches was great in NXT. They never brought it to the main screen, and they buried Natalya because she's the daughter of the Anvil Neidhart.
And related to Bret Hart.
Right so there. I mean, she's been in there. Her dues is tied. I mean, they had to, for the women's tag team title. She got injured. We know she's injured right now and stuff like that. But to me, they never got her dues, and they never built her up. They built Charlotte up too quick, too fast, and not slow playing. See, when they brought John Cena up, you got to look at two things here. When they brought John Cena up, They brought him up as an unknown. They built him up.
It still, even though people want to talk about it, it still took Cena 3 years to finally win the big one. It still took him time. It took him time to work up to those 16 titles.
But now, look at what Cena has done. They didn't force feed Cena down. Certain parts they did, certain parts they didn't. But then look at what he's done with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He's granted almost over 17,000 wishes, and he's a very accessible guy to get into when he comes to see you. He spends a lot of times with people, and that's the way you kind of build something. But with Charlotte, they just threw her, put her father with her, threw her again, kept throwing her
father away, put her back.
Yeah. So I mean, but they built Becky Lynch a different way. They built her a different way. They brought her. She took her slow time to get it, even though she came up with Flair and Sasha Banks, but they really slow played her. And look how her career is going. But to me, WWE buries certain family members of former wrestlers and stuff like that. And then, yes, they force feed Roman Reigns to us. People got tired of force feeding Roman Reigns. You can't, it wasn't like a John Cena type deal with Roman Reigns.
Right.
They trying to pass the torch. Now, when we talk about that match in SummerSlam, that was one of the best matches Roman Reigns has done. And when John Cena wrestles people, John Cena's not, people don't think John Cena is known for his wrestling ability. But, what John Cena is known
He is really good in that role that he played last night in taking a good performer in Reigns, and he elevated him to, like you said, Ray, one of the best matches Roman's has ever had.
And if you ever watch John Cena's matches, John Cena knows how to play the crowd, and he teaches. And when he's in the ring, Randy Orton has said it a couple times. The Miz has said it a couple times on their documentaries that when they get in the ring with John Cena calls the matches, and he tells them, "Listen to the crowd. Wait till the crowd builds up. You do this as this crowd builds up." Yeah. And that last night, if you watched them, when Roman Reigns did the Superman punch 3 or 4 times, if you've seen John Cena, you got to watch his little hand motion because he tells them to keep coming, keep coming. He tells them what he needs to do. And Roman Reigns actually followed his script to the T because that match was so much impact. It was from the top rope, his FU, his stuff was just going around. I mean, John Cena played his part great, and then Roman Reigns played his part great and made it a great match. I don't like the Roman Reigns gimmick. That's the only thing
I don't either.
Oh, you don't like the? Oh.
I don't either.
And I'm gonna tell you what. I said this on the ASAP Wrestling Show hour, and this is the reason why we even had this discussion about it, because it doesn't reflect it reflected Samoan heritage, because the head of the table, the Samoan heritage has got it. There's not too many Samoan wrestlers in WWE. That doesn't play off to the fans. I can't believe in. You got to believe in the match when you watch wrestling. You got to believe in that match. The story they're telling you. Why are they telling you about the head of the table? It doesn't affect my culture because I'm not a Samoan. It's not my heritage. And if you had the more Samoan wrestlers in the WWE, then I could see that. I can believe a little bit. But we only have a few, and they're all together. I mean, they're going up against everybody else, and it really doesn't affect a believable storyline. If you just take the head of the table away from Roman Reigns, will be all right. But it's just that head of the table stuff. It's just not getting to me.
And you brought up another name earlier. You brought up Natalya, and I'm shocked Natalya. I'm shocked Natalya has stayed with WWE as long as she has, because she can go somewhere else and be huge, just as big.
But she's part of the 100 Clan. So
right.
That was 2 points I wanted to bring up there. One, you compared kind of Natalya to Charlotte. Personally, my opinion of the two, Natalya is more talented. She's a better in-ring performer. She's better on the mic. The only thing that Charlotte has over Natalya is her physical appearance and abilities in some things. Second, do you believe that before her career is up, I would say Natalya, she's in her mid-30s?
Mid-30s, 34, 35, something like that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Barring having a child or going off to be a parent, she probably's got another 5 or so, maybe 10 the way that sports medicine's going, a wrestler can wrestle into their 40s and 50s. We see it. But do you think she finishes off her career somewhere else that's going to do her better? Because I believe if she were to go to AEW, she could save AEW's women's division. Because truly, and we said this when Mickey got fired, they need someone like that. They need a Mickey. They need a Natalia or Alita or someone, not even to come in and wrestle. They don't ever have to step foot in the ring. It's the knowledge. It's the everything they've done in this business. And Natalia even brings stuff from her father and Brett and the heart and just the heart mind in wrestling as it is. And I believe Natalia could kill it somewhere else.
She's 39 years old,
39. Guys. Wow. Closer to that end than I thought.
She doesn't look that old.
Still, does she finish off somewhere else?
I think she does.
If she does, they're gonna have to promise her a world championship.
Oh yeah, she got to get another title.
And I don't see that. I see putting the AEW Women's title on her as a very believable thing.
I think her and Britt will have a good match.
Her and Britt Baker could put on
that burned the house down.
A 3-month storyline that I would be locked to, because Natty could tell a hell of a story, and the character of the role model in Britt Baker could tell a hell of a story. Those two together, Britt is the heel and Natty is the face, it would light up the screen in a way that AEW's women's division hasn't yet.
And this is my issue. And this is my issue again with WWE. You don't put the value on the vet talent that you have. I think they look at Natty as more as being a mother hen type in the back than they do as a credible competitor. And that's just so disrespectful because granted, she is hurt right now, but for the most part, she's been durable throughout her career and she can go. And I just think WWE has her pegged completely wrong.
I think that Vince McMahon is really suffering her because of the Hart Foundation.
I
think it's just despite Bret Hart, the way Bret Hart walked off on Vince McMahon, stuff like that. So I think Vince McMahon just holds a grudge against that.
It's the same way Vince has done any person that's been in WCW. He's done them dirty every time. You look how they did Sting when he finally came in.
Yep.
You also brought up a good point earlier, Ray, and I'm trying to bring my mind back to
Roman Reigns.
No. You were talking about how John is so good calling matches in the ring and reading the crowd. We had an indie wrestler on a few weeks ago, Luke Curtis, and he was talking about being in the ring with Carlito and how he's really good at that too, and how Luke kind of just wanted to go in and lock up, but he made him slow it down, feel that crowd. Work it. Let's do a little bit. Let's move this along a little bit before we lock up. And I think that's what people should call a ring general. And there's very few people who do it as well as Cena. Carlito is one of them. I would give Christopher Daniels also is really good at that. A guy on the indies who's really, really good at that. I watched him in Impact and in the matches he's had in AEW. He's really good at feeling that crowd and working that and moving it forward. And Taker did that very well too. Even Orton does that well. But it takes a special performer to do that and to do it right.
Yeah, and another thing about that is you all watched John Cena when he wrestled Kurt Angle when he first came in.
Yes.
You know who was calling that match, right? It wasn't Kurt Angle.
No, it was John.
It was John.
We're going to take another commercial break, and we're going to come right back and kind of finish this up. And there's still, believe it or not, a little bit more to talk about. So we'll be right back, guys.
No one pulls up like we do. No one does us like we do. Always go hard with this crew. Welcome to the show, let's make moves. Nothing's Nothing's gonna stop us, it's about to get rough. Turn the whole room up, it's never enough. Let's go, 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 let's go.
Sorry, guys. It's not usually like this, but I'm the only one here tonight, and
I don't know. I didn't know where the heck you went. That's why I just played something. Because I looked at you. Oh shoot, Josh is gone. Click.
So, real quick, that is the Geek Gauntlet that you've seen twice. You catch that Saturdays with Will and Shaw every Saturday. Run the fastest hour in podcasting. All things geek. Like, if you think geek, watch that show. Sports Report, our Monday lineup. Sports Report After Dark. 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Catch Will, 7. Tony C, Dirty Dan. All your sports information. Dirty Dan's Dick of the Week. Will Morgan's Huddle. Seventh inning stretch, all the stuff. Tony C and the Hardwood. Get all your sports. And then after that, you tune in for Seven and Dan, 2 color commentators just talking about the human side of sports. Totally uncensored, unedited. I definitely dropped the parental advisory on that show. It is not for children. Not for children. And then you got Drop the Mic Podcast, me and Pun every other Tuesday talking all things music, new releases, what we're listening to, everything you can think about in the music world. I think this week we're going to talk about our absolute all-time favorite bands. It's going to be a great show. And then, I think that's it. Oh, and if it hasn't been mentioned, thanks to Rays and Rep Sports for being a sponsor of this and all things pinfall streams. Use code GGN10 at repsports.com for 15% off your entire order. We really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Support them, support us.
And Freddie, if you think you're going to escape me, no, sir. You are not going to escape me, Freddie. No, I know you watching, Mr. Laker fan. I know you watching. He's another dude over at All Sports, All Plays. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him, Ray. I got to get him. I got to.
Here.
Got to get him, man. Mr. Laker.
So, all right. My last point of topic that I wanted to bring up tonight. We saw CM Punk debut. There are rumors of some confirmed debuts and rumors of some just speculation. And then AEW loves to push those rumors with little hints and clues here and there.
They do.
First thing I want to bring up, D-Bry debuts supposedly at the end of September. You just had CM Punk debut. Me and Will kind of talked about this last night, Ray, but I want your opinion as another guy I would consider a wrestling like fanatic like us. Is the pendulum starting to sway towards AEW? And not saying the way we phrased this last night, this was the greatest thing. They are not by any means putting the nail in the coffin of the WWE. But at this point, we say they've kicked WWE into that coffin and they've closed the lid. Could WWE easily find their way out? Yes, there are avenues. But have they shown at this point in time that they're going to take those avenues?
Well, the problem you got with WWE, and I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it since I started watching wrestling in 1980. WWE is going to be held back because you still got Vince McMahon who's running everything. He's still the type of guy who's going to censor people. He's going to be the type of guy going to change the storyline in the middle of a great storyline. I mean, to me, we don't see enough storyline for WWE. They turn it more into an entertainment organization instead of wreaking the great storytelling. They don't teach the great storytelling to the young wrestlers in the because if you look at NXT is better than Raw. NXT is better than some of SmackDowns because Triple H is running NXT. If you look at some of the things, backlashes, and this is why Vince McMahon don't want to give it to Stephanie and Triple H, because Triple H told Vince McMahon to back off NXT. NXT, he told him that he's going to run NXT, and if you look at what Triple H is doing in NXT, it's doing a little bit better telling the story because Triple H is that perfectionist. He's that kind of, he'll let the other people chime in that what they think. The writers are writing what they want. And he's just sitting back and saying, okay, I like that idea. We can make it a little bit better here. But with Vince, you can go in there and lay your ideas down. If he really doesn't like it, he's going to shoot it down. He says, no, you're going to be doing this. And if you look at what Manny Rose was pitching with Otis, it worked to a certain point. Then Vince says, oh, I don't like this thing no more. So Manny Rose went on ahead and asked Vince, send me back to NXT. And that's why she's back at NXT because Triple H wanted her and she felt more compelled to be in NXT. So now if you're looking at the AEW product, AEW reminds me of the WCW.
Yep.
And the format, the way Shai Khan's son is doing it, I really like, because it's more storytelling. It's more, actually, you could believe some of the stuff that's going on. You believe Jon Moxley had that feud with Kenny Omega. You believe
there's not a lot of like far-fetched story. You haven't seen the like WWE loves to pull the sci-fi, the mystical, the romantic. You don't. People want to say that AEW hasn't lived up, but I feel like they have. They've been much more of a sports-based product. Do they have stories? Yes, but the stories are really told in the ring. Or if you want the real backstory, you have to go watch BTE or the vlogs, or it's there, but it's not clogging up their 2-hour TV show.
And you can really thank Chris Jericho about that, and Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks. They're the ones that had the idea. And then people don't like Kenny Omega because of his way he's respond on there and stuff like that. But Kenny Omega is one of the guys that helped out Cody Rhodes, helped out as part of one of the ownerships of this organization. And what Tony Khan has done was they listened to Chris Jericho. They listened to these wrestlers, what they perform inside. They listen to their wrestlers. And that's the key point. Vince McMahon really don't listen to their wrestlers. He says, no, we're doing this because this is what I want to do. But AEW listens to their wrestlers because, Cabrera's storyline with Matt Hardy, that Stadium Stampede, the golf cart incident, running them over with the golf cart.
It was believable.
Yeah. So they will get.
And then
that match was all made up by Chris Jericho and Sonny and Cabrera and Matt Hardy. So
and then there was just quirky things that happened in that feud that just worked, like Matt actually getting hurt Like there were just things, and they played off the real life things instead of feeling like they had to add in all this bullshit. And I said this last night too. Vince has got to be careful here because as much as there are some similarities to WCW and AEW, the one big thing here is Shad Khan likes to make money. He does. And right now, AEW is making him a lot of money. And if he sees money coming in, he will pour more money into it. This is the first time that Vince has really had a money competitor that can match him in that department. Because truly, Shad is way more rich than Vince is.
He damn well making more money off AEW than he is the Jaguars.
Well, I can tell you, since I live in Jacksonville, Florida, since I am a Jaguar fan, since I am in the backyard of AEW, I have seen stuff that goes on that hasn't even been broadcast on television, hasn't been broadcast any on vlogs and stuff like that. And I have a good working rapport with Matt Hardy, being a North Carolina boy. So, you know, I learned certain things over the years of what Shad Khan has done with the Jaguars, how he's making money with them, taking the games over to London. People think, oh, he's taking the games over to London, you're going to move the Jaguars there. No, Shad Khan's there. It's a business because he knew that Jacksonville needs London to survive in Jacksonville because of the small market. He knows what AEW needs. He doesn't have a thing. He has this saying, if you go out and get the talent, we're going to make money off of you. And that's what he told his son. His son is actually running the organization. He just supplies the money when he needs it. And Tony Khan is running this organization, listen to his wrestlers. They're making more money that way. And when the pandemic was hit, you know, Shad Khan has a amphitheater out the stadium. That's where they did all their matches at during the pandemic. You know, Vince has the thing in Orlando. So, I mean, but Vince don't really know how to use that performance center to his ability because they're not teaching their wrestlers, you know, what goes on in kind of promos and, you know, ordinance and stuff. So it's actually
funny that we're talking about this. I've got a little bit of breaking news. This is from Dirt Sheet Radio. They posted this about 7 hours ago. But it says that enjoy the final takeover of the NXT era. Nick Khan confirmed this morning that WWE will be moving away from primarily scouting independent wrestlers. NXT revamp is coming. We are doing a complete revamp on NXT led by Triple H, who is really one of the architects of the original NXT. In terms of an NXT rebrand, we're looking for it in the next couple of weeks. It's going to have a whole new look. It's going to have a whole new feel, and we believe a lot of the indie wrestlers, if you will, have come through our system and in our system with the SmackDown and Raw. Now, we don't want to keep just doing the same thing. We want to look elsewhere for great young talent. What does that mean?
Where else do you look?
Well,
to me, that means they're going to stop looking at wrestlers and look at more athletes, which I think is a bad idea.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can look at it two ways. They're looking at primary football players that are not going to be able to make it into the NFL. But some of these football players turn out to be some of these good wrestlers too.
Yes, it does happen, but really, Ray, it doesn't work out more times than it does. Most people aren't a moose. Most people aren't a rock.
Worked out for Ron Simmons just fine.
But I feel like it worked out better back in the day when wrestling was more about just beating the crap out of each other.
Right.
Now,
now you have to do more.
You got to do more.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see it as successful. The last one that I could really think to be successful coming from the NFL is Moose. And am I wrong?
Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way too. If you look at it here, you know, Triple H wasn't a wrestler; he was a power lifter. So if somebody going to teach a non-wrestler who to be that, Triple H is one of them guys because Triple H turned his gimmicks around, and then he turned himself around because he went from a bodybuilder to a comedian type with DX. You know, so he's a good teacher and stuff like that. But I mean, sometimes these indie wrestlers, if you look at some of these indie wrestlers, some of them just don't want to learn and change their crafts a little bit to make them a little bit better. So why don't you go get a raw athlete like in a football and teach him the right way to be a professor
Well, and I
who
think
wants
you
to
just
learn stuff. So
you just answered the question right there. That's what they're wanting. They're wanting someone they can come in and teach the WWE way, not the indie way, because people have said this. The WWE way is much different than AEW, NWA, Indies. Like they just have a certain way they do things. It's not wrestling; it's sports entertainment. And I'm sorry, guys, it's different. They might look like two of the same products, but it's different the way you display it.
Right.
Well, if you really want to look at it, you look at AEW like this. You want pure wrestling back in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, you go to AEW. You want wrestling into the new generation of being like you're there for WWE, but you're going to be marketed out to something else, like a movie star, like they did John Cena, like they did The Rock, like they did Big Show when he was there, like they did with Triple H, and The Miz. They're more out trying to push you into a movie business and entertainment side. But that's really the difference is, because if you look at it, WWE right now, their writers are actually soap opera writers. Was former All My Children writer is in there writing these storylines. So I mean, you don't have athlete wrestlers, former wrestlers trying to write these stories. I mean, Michael P.S. Hayes is, he's trying to write a story, but Vince McMahon overturned some of his storylines. And Vince McMahon look what happened to Bray Wyatt. He gave his gimmick right to freaking
Alexa Bliss,
and then they fired him.
Yep.
So
damn shame. Damn shame what happened to Bray, man. He's gonna go over to AEW and kill it.
I mean,
but it's also, if that's our final thought, it's also what Ray said though. And I mentioned this last night at the watch party. It's one of those things. Bray never felt fit the Vince, Kevin, or Kent, the other guy over there. I can never remember his fucking name. He never fit the mold. And in there, if you fit the idea of what Vince is, you can have a crappy match and he's not going to care as long as you fit his idea. But if you don't fit his idea, it doesn't matter if you have a 5-star, 10-star match. It's still a bad idea.
I mean, Vince McMahon had a thing going with The Fiend, and then he trashed that up.
Yep.
By adding the whatever that thing is, the fire fun house or something, and they totally messed it up. I mean, he had the thing working with The Fiend. I mean, The Fiend was being dominant and stuff like that, and all of a sudden everything changed. And another thing with Bray Wyatt, and I think really messed him up, was when Brody Lee actually passed away. And then Vince didn't give him enough time to grieve. They keep bringing him back, and finally gave him enough time to grieve and stuff. So
with the Firefly Funhouse, I feel like they could have made that work. It was good seeing. You only saw The Fiend in big moments, and then you saw Bray is this kind of light. But then they started using Fiend way too much. He was making too many appearances, and if they'd have kept the Fiend for protected like they have done Balor's Demon for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd have protected the Fiend like that, God, he could have been the next Taker in the WWE easily, but he just never did. Guys, I gotta say, God, we could keep.
He's gonna
keep going and keep going.
He's gonna go to AEW and kill it. And I said it last night during the watch party. The family coming back. It's gonna be under a different name or a different way, but the family coming back. Best believe over in AEW.
I think
they're gonna benefit.
My opinion on the whole deal: if Bray Wyatt goes to the AEW, he's gonna be the new leader of the Dark Order, and
kill it.
And Brody Lee's son is already trying to get him to come recruiting him, and they already been talking to Khan. They're talking to Shah Khan too. So, and he does have the right to the Fiend gimmick, and he does have the right to the mask because he built all that himself. WWE didn't portray that anyway. Trademark it is under.
No, he did before
he did himself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he can bring the Fiend over, and that's what's probably gonna happen. And I know Brody Lee's son is trying to get him desperately to come and be the new leader of the Dark Order.
He's gonna kill it over there, y'all. He's gonna kill it.
I mean, he really would. And you do that, then I mean, I still think Braun is probably going to re-sign with WWE. We talked about it last night. Braun is just one of those guys that if it weren't for WWE, he would never be in this business, and he feels like he owes them everything. But I could see Eric Rowan coming over with Bray, and I would love that. And so I hope that happens. And we didn't get to, but I mean, you never did answer my question. So is the tide stemming in AEW's direction right now?
To me, yes, because to me, I'm an old school kind of guy. I like the pure wrestling. I like the pure storyline. I like AEW style. I always like the WCW style over the WWE. And matter of fact, I watched more WCW than I did WWE when I was growing up because I was a big Ric Flair fan, Dusty Rhodes fan, Sting fan. I was. And, I watched World Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs and gentleman Chris Adams. And
you're talking about my area right there.
Super Kick.
I'm a huge
Freebirds. Freebirds.
I like the Von Erichs. I was a big Von Erich fan. And
look, don't you dare sleep on Iceman King Parsons, boy.
Yeah, that too. And then I like the Junkyard Dog.
Yep.
I'm a huge Von Erich fan, being that I live in Texas. Like, you can't talk about wrestling in Texas without mentioning the Von Erichs. They're like Flair level in this area. And
in Texas.
Huh? Oh yeah. Just like you mentioned wrestling in Texas to an old guy there and be like, you ever seen that Kevin Von Erich match? Blah, 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 blah. Like
the Sportatorium.
Oh man, Sportatorium. One day I'm gonna see a show in it, but I've driven by it, but I've never seen a show in it.
I actually saw Stunning Steve when Steve Austin first came into in that wrestling. I was there when he made his debut. Yeah,
I'll never forget that Ric Flair Kerry Von Erich match. I'll never forget that. And Kerry got the win, and then Ric Flair took it right back because no one really trust Kerry at that time. But that was a hell of a match.
I mean, the Von Erichs, family is like royalty in Texas, and it's as bad to what happened to their, their family history and stuff.
Family has a dark past. But on that note, I feel like they've got a bright future because his kids are really killing it in MLW. And I think you will probably see them in a bigger stage very soon. We're almost done here, but I will say I agree with you, Ray. To me, AEW resembles a lot of the WCW. It's more punk rock almost. It's a little more edgy. That TV 14 rating is the big thing. I can't watch. Like last night, we were going to do a watch party. I just had no interest in watching WWE. It just does not excite me. I am a John Cena mark. Like I am. I have followed that man's entire career. I was there when he won his 16th. I'm a mark for the man. I had no interest in watching SummerSlam at all.
So you couldn't see him last night, Dean. You couldn't see him.
Even the Edge match. Like I love Edge. I just didn't care.
And you got to get Edge props too, because Edge, from coming back, getting himself in that good shape, looks real good in the ring. So I give Edge props on that.
And the thing about the Edge match, let me touch base on that too. If you watch him, he took a lot of bumps on his neck.
Yeah, he did.
And the reason for that, he wanted to show everybody that his neck was great, it's stronger, and he actually played pretty well. That storyline was actually played pretty well. 7 years in the making. That was worth the match. Waiting for 7 years, and and the thing talking about John Cena, I watched Slam because one reason only. I like John Cena because he did so much for the military, and I'm a military kind of guy. So I have mad props to him, but I also have a mad props to him too because he's a very outspoken character. He's outspoken on everything. He's a WWE kind of guy, but he's also not that type of guy that's going to overshadow everybody else. And everybody's talking about he don't help other people. You don't understand when he gets in the ring with you, he's already helping you. He's helping you when calling the match. He's trying to make you a better match caller. And that's what WWE don't have. They don't have great match callers in their wrestlers, because if you watch some of the wrestlers, you can tell they're talking to each other, how they're doing. But if you don't watch John Cena, you can't really tell when he's actually talking to a wrestler. He doesn't talk to him. He communicates by hand signal and stuff like that. And it's something with if you look what The Miz talked about, he says when he's in the ring, John Cena really gonna talk to you. He tells you, he says, listen. He says, watch my hand signals. I'll give you a good signal when you need to pump up. And it's like some of the matches that with him and Miz and Maurice and stuff, he had to slow Maurice down a little bit because they were overselling that match too much. And if you watch what he did with Nikki Bella when they turned the Nikki Bella around when he was with her, telling, hey, he critiques everybody. He's back there when everybody comes out. And one thing about The Undertaker, if you ever watch him when he shook John Cena's hand, he knew what John Cena was all about. And he knew that he was going to be that special kind of guy. And that's why if you get the Undertaker approval in WWE,
you're the man.
You're the man. You there. Well, Ray, I want to say thank you, brother, for coming on through tonight. I do appreciate you, man. And I'll return the favor on Tuesday. All Sports, All Plays Network, ASAP Wrestling Hour. Me, Ray, burning the house down as we always do on Tuesdays. Josh, what up? What else you got, buddy?
Guys, I think that's it. Again, yes, thank you, Ray. Make sure you tune in to Dynamite this week. CM Punk making his first Dynamite appearance, and you never know what's going to happen, really, going into wrestling anymore. I still think you're going to see Ruby Soho debuting soon. You've got Bray Wyatt out there. You've got all the guys released in April. Their release dates are about to come up. I was just listening. Who was it? Daivari little brother. His comes up September 3rd. So you got a bunch of those guys about to get out. So you're about to see it, guys. The one thing I will say, my final thought of the night is AEW needs to devote some more on getting more big name women. They're pulling in so many big name men. They need more big name women. Ruby Riott, known in WWE, looks like she's going to be debuting very soon. That's a big get. But again, you need a Mickie James. You need a Natalya. You need someone who has been in this business long enough to really teach these new women.
Well, probably an interesting name, Mickie James. Mickie James and stuff. Well, Mickie James is right. She did that all women in
Empower. That's what into next weekend. Is that
next weekend?
She actually wrote the whole entire program.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how that goes. You got that, and then you've got 73 the literally the next night. So NWA is another one, guys. Like, man, New Japan, AAA, AEW, NWA, MLW. And then, like I said last night, I still think these smaller companies like GCW and CZW are about to make a move to be a little bit more.
Look, NWA was smart enough to put the title on Camille, so you ain't gonna get no complaints out of me.
Dude, and I'm actually excited to see Camille versus Layla Hirsch.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I realize that looks like a real mismatch.
It's a
but
better
Layla
match.
Hirsch is such a shooter wrestler. She could go against that huge, gigantic, gorgeous woman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm excited for that match. I think Empower is going to be really good just for the sheer fact that, like you said, Ray, Mickie James wrote it, and she knows women's wrestling. Probably she would be on the level of like Trish and Lita to me.
She worked under Trish status.
Yeah. Well, and then like Gail Kim, and like you look back at the matches that her and Gail had an impact. Some of the best women's matches you'll ever see.
Yep.
But guys, thank y'all for joining us tonight. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see y'all back here next week on PinFall Podcast. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.